Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers.
I remember you the most from the enthusiast show at the Concrete Theater. Yeah, because you had a funny note on your water bottle. It said like, Daddy only drink one beer or something? Or
that's right.
What did it say?
Yeah,
is that what it says?
Yeah, my daughter Sophia put that on there. Honestly, don't know where that came from.
No, it was from because of your kidney. Mm-hmm. I thought that was why.
Oh.
Wasn't that why? You said it was because you can only have a couple because you had like kidney surgery.
That's true.
Or something like that.
That's true.
So yeah.
Now
one of those things is true.
The kidney? Ooh.
Yeah, the kidney thing.
Beer.
That's the one and only,
side effect
to having only one kidney is the fact that you can't binge drink.
You donated your kidney to Clarity.
Yeah. What's extra special about it is that most often, those types of things are paired donations. So, like, my blood type doesn't jive with her blood type. That's the most common thing, right? Because it's just not, two random people that happen to be friends or happen to know each other are not likely to have totally compatible blood types. So you have a paired donation. So you file, in a database, and then, so somebody in her network. Anyway, it's hard to explain, but yeah. So
it worked out.
So it worked out that she got to take my kidney as opposed to somebody else receiving my kidney, and then someone in that person's network matched with her.
Did you write a farewell song to your kidney?
No.
That should come next. I mean, you guys did a pretty serious album. Why not do a funny one next? Ode to the kidney.
Yeah. That would be appropriate for sure.
And then I think Summer, I must have met you at that same show because you were playing.
Yeah.
But
you were bartending that show.
I was.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
It was so much fun.
And so I think I met you there, Summer, but then I remember meeting you the most. The one memory that sticks out is at band camp.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. In 2023, you just came out to me and you were like, I love what you're doing so much. And that was really sweet. So thank you.
Oh man, I really Steve Chambers and you. I mean, to have people in our community that are the catchers is where would we be without it? The people who are rememberers, the storytellers, the rememberers. All these things happen, in my opinion, or my feeling about being a musician is that, especially playing live that comes and goes. It's in a moment. And then when it's over, I don't really think back about it. It's it vanishes, but some people remember and can tell that's this did happen.
Yeah.
And document.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's you. And you're doing such a beautiful job. And
oh, thank you.
It's growing and it's just varied, all different kinds of folks.
This is so amazing that I get to do this. I do not take this for granted.
We feel the same. I mean, we feel the same way. I think half the things I can ever muster to say on stage is just the freaking, the gratitude to be able to participate. Where we came from is just a completely different culture around art and music and, status, and the scene, quote unquote, scene here is so accessible. I'm always pinching myself that, we get to do this. We get to do this. We get to we get to release this record. We got to record this record again, our second recording at the Unknown, and from a technical standpoint, you can't find a better quality recording studio. The resources that are available to us, mm-hmm. And the people and the place, it's phenomenal. It's totally exceptional that we get to be in this thing, you know?
Well, and you said it's way different from where you came from. So that was going to be my other question. So, you know, we're sitting in this basement in Cedar Woolley that you helped me buy, Andrew. So thank you. I don't know if I told everyone, but I think I mentioned Hannah a couple times. But yeah, you and Hannah, you know, were the reasons why we got this house. So thank you.
No, man.
And the jam room alone.
I know. It took a minute to find the right spot.
Yeah. You think all the other houses like, no, that one was perfect. And then, you know, it does, you know, it falls through and you're like, why? And this is why.
Yeah.
Like we went to take Riley out to practice his bike. He's still working on training wheels. And I said, okay, well, where should we go? And Spencer's like, well, let's just go outside on the street. Oh, yeah, right. Because when we lived on Minclair, you can't do that. People go 60 down the road.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, this way we can see people coming a mile away and they're only going 25 and they wave as they go by. And
I noticed that as we pulled onto the street, it was like, oh my God, we're in Mayberry or something. Like, this feels like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt that, you know, the first, you know, 5 or 10 proproperties are like Christmas lights and everything.
Yeah.
Like it's like suddenly, you know.
People are kind enough to call in if they think your house is on fire.
Yeah, right.
And then they come to your house and let you know the story behind your old house. Anyway, how did you guys get in this studio in Cedar Woolley? You weren't born in Cedar Woolley.
We were not.
No. In fact, we didn't even know what, like, we never even heard of the Skagit County. Skagit. What's, you know. Yeah, it's kind of it could be very long, but the short version.
Well, no, this is our podcast, and we can go as long as we want, and it's for us. I mean, the fact that other people will listen to it is fine.
Yeah,
but this is for us. I am going to walk upstairs as you start talking and go grab a drink, but seriously, start talking, and then I will discover it as I listen.
I'll just pretend that you're sitting here.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll
and it's actually, I probably don't get to start the story because the story begins with Summer and Rob.
Oh, okay. Wait, were you born first?
I was, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
You didn't know she was older than me?
No.
Come to that.
Oh, what's the age difference?
We're of an age now.
5?
We're of an age.
Yeah, I'm 5 years older. Uh-huh.
You know what's funny? We were at training yesterday and this lady said, well, gosh, when I came out of graduate school in 93, blah, 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 this was the teaching doctrine, you know? And I just went, and she looked at me and she goes, what? I go, that's the year my husband was born.
Oh, man.
And she's like, oh, okay.
Totally.
All right. On that note,
Okay.
Summer's going to start the story. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, gosh.
I mean, it starts in Seattle, right? In Green Lake.
Well, really, it goes back to laying in bed in Orange, California, longing for rain, longing for winter.
Yeah.
And I was just a kid. And another warm, cloudless day and like too hot to wear a sweater. And then I grew up, went traveling, did many things, went traveling, came home to save money, went traveling, came home, get a job at REI where I met Rob. And when we met, our stories were very similar. He also grew up in Orange County, looking out the window, longing for rainy days, longing for winter. And then our situation went really well. We went traveling and did many things and ended up in Seattle for his residency, which we knew both wanted to be somewhere north. We wanted to be in the north, Portland or Seattle. And so there we were, living our life in Seattle for 3 years. It really clicked for us. His work was super duper hard, but being in the Northwest, I mean, he had 3 hours off of work or something, and we could walk out our front door and eagles were flying and cedars surrounding us and our children were barefoot, and it was just, it was home. And when that season ended in Seattle, we knew we wanted to be in a small town. So we started looking for jobs, and that job was in Anacortes. And I don't know, a few different things happened that like our whole family wanted to stay together. We wanted to be together, like my parents and my brother and Heidi and Cam and her partner. Like we all wanted to have like a commune somewhere. really, they didn't want that. They wanted to stay in California, but we were like, well, we got a job in Washington, and that's where our heart really was. So Andrew and Heidi came up, and really, like, when you guys arrived, we had been in Anacortes for a year and making inroads very, very, very subtly.
They live like, 2 miles, 1.5, 2 miles south of town. Like, not in city. It was actually in the county, like in
Sharp Road.
What's it called? South Fidalgo. South Fidalgo.
And you guys just came out to visit?
Yeah, we came out to visit. We came out to visit, I remember 4 times. We came up the first time in the summer because there was like a writer's workshop that was based in Carnation that Summer and I and Cammie all went to at the beginning of like soul work, and Summer was already living there. And so that was the first time that we visited. And then, where do I begin? We also, there's a long backstory, but, Heidi and I had been looking for at least 10 years, for a place to move out of, Orange County, we did a bunch of traveling as well, but not a whole lot in the States. We had done a bunch outside of the States, but like the idea is once we're done with graduate school, all that stuff, where are we going to go? Where do we want to raise a family? The one thing I remember from Rob when he first started talking about Anacortes, because again, we knew Seattle, we had some friends in Seattle, so we were familiar with the sort of metro area there, but when they started talking about the San Juan Islands and like there's this whole area. I mean, I remember looking on a map like online, like going, what in the world? Where in the world? What is this? And all like the islands and all this other stuff. But
Canada.
I remember.
Also.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember him talking about how that there were still wild spaces, and that phrase hadn't ever struck me before, but he was so excited that like Anacortes has wild spaces, like actual, forests, like lots and lots of forest land. And we went, whoa, oh my God, really? There's a place like that has like, and like wildlife and, that kind of stuff. And it just was so foreign, it was so foreign to us. So, yeah, long story short, we came up to visit after they had moved here, and we're like, wow, this is kind of like the perfect size town. We didn't realize that, that it was like just a fairy town that Seattleites, disparage as, just the way through to Orcas or whatever. But that's actually the reason that they even found Anacortes was through the Wilderness Awareness School, that they met friends that had property on Orcas and had to drive through town. Like, oh, it was through that magnet initially. But yeah, so we came up once every season to see what it feels like, And I remember in the winter, like, okay, this is
you guys are kind of nervous.
Yeah. I mean, you grew up in Southern California. There's a variance of maybe 20 degrees of temperature and like, so what would it feel like to live up here? And it was like, wow.
And when you said that the scene was a lot different from where you're from, so did you guys play music in Orange County? Mm-hmm. Okay, so actually let's go back a little bit more. How did you first start playing? I mean, I just told you I'm forcing Olive to take violin and bass. So were you forced as a kid, or was it just like around you 24/7, or are your parents musicians?
So our mom, she was forced to play piano. She grew up, in churches singing. That aspect was, I think, really great for her. Her grandma and twin aunt, she'd sit between them in church, and that's how she learned to harmonize, because they'd sing, the hymns. And my mom was a beautiful singer, and she could harmonize to anything. And I always loved that about her, and wished that
wish you had that gift. Yeah. But that's okay, because that's my job. So.
Yeah. No. I'm like, am I harmonizing now? She's like, that's not harmony.
Oh, pats your head. Oh, sweetie.
Oh, yes. It's kind of a wound I carry. But So she's like, yes, the girls take piano lessons. So my sister and I both took piano lessons as kids, man. And we'd every day practice, like all summer long practice, ride our bikes to, piano lessons. It just never stuck. It just didn't stick. But I would do like the church musical, and I wanted to sing, and I would always sing and do things like that. And then I think, when I was in 7th grade, I wanted, what was I doing? I went to a new youth group where we played worship songs, and I'm like, I'm ready. I want to have a guitar. I want to play for myself. So that was the first time that I wanted, I wanna. So my mom bought me a Sears guitar.
Sears, yep. With
the action so high off the neck that the fretboard that I don't know how I learned anything. You would have not. That was a horrendous.
Did you just teach yourself?
I have no memory of this guitar. The first guitar I remember is the Court.
No, I had
but that was much later.
Yeah, Sears one for that. But I went to the Pink Lady, the Christian bookstore down the street, to take guitar lessons.
It was named the Pink Lady.
Sweet shop.
Yeah.
Bible shop.
Still, no. I don't know.
I know, it was weird. So I learned a couple things. I went to the guy, show me how to play this song. Show me how to play my favorite song. When I went to that guy for lessons.
He was a rocker, wasn't he?
He was a rocker, but my favorite
he was a
band.
Hessian. That's what we used to call those long hairs back then. A Hessian.
A Hessian?
His hair was super long and his eyes would roll back in his head. When he'd hear the song on cassette that I gave him, he's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And he just and then he'd play the song for me really slowly so I could go home and practice.
So what song was that though?
It was from Maria McKee. So it was Maria McKee was the lead singer of Lone Justice, was a band that I saw. They opened up for U2.
You were 16?
Oh.
So yeah. That was I was 16. So that
I was 11 years old at
down.
this time, by the way.
I know. Yeah.
Just keep mentioning how much younger you are in the whole episode. Was that your first concert? U2?
No. Oh yeah, it was on their very first
first secular
well,
concert.
I could go see them because they were Christian. Yes.
Okay.
We had really strict rules, so we could only listen to Christian music.
Yeah.
And I up until 7th grade, I think my folks got looser about we couldn't go to school dances. Mm-hmm. It was very.
They couldn't go to movies, so I guess we got it light.
What was your first concert? Secular concert?
Oh gosh, I have a really bad memory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it would probably take me some time
would it
to.
Be
okay.
Like the MXPX or one of those.
Those are Christians. No,
well,
yeah.
Oh,
the first. I think most of the shows I went to were like Christian punk bands. Like
okay.
Prayer Chain and MXPX and.
Jars of Clay, they're Christian,
Jars
I think.
of Clay.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever went to the shows, though.
DC Talk.
Oh, gosh.
I worked at a summer
Super
camp with one of those guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, his sister, yeah. And then we saw him play.
I was a little deeper into the fold than Summer was, especially when I was like in my teens. I was on the track to become a missionary and to save the world. Yeah. I had no interest in secular or anything.
When I saw Lone Justice play, I was like, that's how music makes me feel. That's it. Like the way that Maria McKee and her band did it. It was like, that's it. It's so I'd
ferocious.
sung church music. I'd done these things, but I was myself. And so I'm like, I need to be able to write my own stuff. That's why I want to be a musician. I don't want to play church music. I don't want to do that. I want to write my own music. I want to feel that feeling of telling my own story.
Were you doing any journaling or writing poetry or
Actually yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that started probably in 7th grade and stuff. And, and that was with me for that was a practice journal and poetry a bit. Mm-hmm.
But it was just a precursor to no, these are going to be songs.
I didn't know yet. I mean, it took me a long time. I didn't write my first song until, I was 18 maybe. But
13.
Oh, it's so funny. I mean, that time, that difference in our age was profound at that time. But what we were doing at that time was I was 18 and I we would do dawn patrol. I'd drive Andrew to go surfing in the morning. I really feel like that time with you, because I'd graduated from high school and he was barely not even a freshman.
No, I was in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Or
but
7th
that was
grade.
like a bond, He's like, hey, sis, can you take me? So we'd get up at 5:30 in the morning and drive down to the beach and surf. He'd surf for half an hour or an hour, and I'd go rollerblading, listening to my music. And but that made a bond, I think, between us. That when you started getting into music, which, by the way, like in one day, he's like, hey, show me some chords. And I showed him like everything I know. And then like week 2, he's like,
I took a worship music class on a classical guitar, and we learned not Freebird. Oh God, I can't believe I just said that.
Wagon Wheel?
Well,
No. This was in like 1990. This was in 1990 or something.
it was
the
Sandman song.
No. It was Tom Petty. It was Free Fallin'.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Like, there's a phenomenon where like when you can play something on the guitar that sounds like what you've heard on the radio, or like, it's like there's a magical moment. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And that was the first song you heard.
That's what this sounds like. That's what this record sounds like. And then it just happened to be the very first song. There's that simple riff. And that was the first song that we learned.
Nice.
But, I learned like a bunch of chords, bunch of songs, bunch of worship songs this one summer. And yeah.
And so did you start playing around like when you were 13, 14?
No, I think it was actually, I was like 15. I was 15 when I took that class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first song about?
My sister.
Oh, and what's your sister's name?
Cammy.
Cammy, okay. Yeah. Was she the one wearing the Lazy Acres shirt at the show at the church? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
The cartoony one?
Yeah.
That's such a good one.
My favorite.
The King of the Hill one.
Rob
King of the Hill.
that
Yeah.
graphic. He's like, I need to get one of those shirts.
So you wrote your first song when you were 18, and then did you try to like make it into the scene down there?
No.
Okay.
I was just
playing around,
still playing in my room, and I was gone a lot, like I would work summers at summer camps, and I did some traveling, and then I would come home to go to school and make money and stuff. But it took a little while before and then like Andrew grew up, and like it never even occurred to me. I guess one thing about this like scene in Southern California was that I never knew there was no high school bands. You could be in like marching band, but there was like, never knew anyone that was in a band. Like there were bands. The fact is there must have been bands. Well,
we were in a high school of 1,600 kids. So there were bands.
Well,
the fact is we weren't in that culture because we were so sucked into this very insular, our brand of Christianity.
That's true.
Was super insular, right? Like that's all my parents hung out with. Were people at church.
I mean, I went to parties and was like
That's
in a
true.
scene.
You would have
there
at
was
least
never
heard
that.
about a band, but who knows if maybe
It kind of felt like I don't know. I still don't know, but it just seemed like you had to be very special. Like it wasn't just a normal human response to living life to jam and play music with your friends that you made up. Like that's something that has blown us away, that like Carl Blau really like, he's like, man, this is normal. Like pick up a guitar or anything and make music out of it. If you're Carl, it doesn't matter what it is. You're making music out of it. And I was like, you don't like, who doesn't have to fit a thing. It's just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, come as you are. And like, oh, wow. Because also Southern California is Southern California. So there's, the making it thing seemed like, well, I guess you just have to make it because.
Yeah, that was like the default, that was just the assumed kind of like motivation or sort of purpose, which ironically, so we spent like, how do we fast forward through, we spent several years working on songs together and writing stuff together, and it was so much fun. And then we decided, okay, we're going to make this record. We were actually going to do just a 3-song demo.
Right, yeah.
And we met this guy, Bill, who also blew us away. We'd never met anybody like him, you know, and he had a professional studio at his house, and we went in there just to try to record, you know, see what this would go, how would it go, you know. We played him some of the songs, and he was like, yeah, these are great, blah, blah. And then that relationship blossomed into a friendship, and then we spent almost a year in the studio making a full 10-song record, you know. The irony about all that is, of course, we learned more during that time than anything else before. I mean, we were as green and amateur as you can imagine. But we, you know, we probably played about maybe a dozen shows, because he also is a professional drummer, like Juilliard jazz, you know, trained drummer. And so, right, it was just incredible. So we finished this record, played a bunch of shows.
Where would you play shows? Like what kind of
we played
venues?
There was some there was a few.
Oh, you're laughing a lot.
Yeah, like company picnic. we played
a company picnic at Cal State Long Beach, which is funny because that's where I went to school.
Okay,
you know, I don't know.
Yeah, we thought it was like a Cal State Long Beach thing, but no, it was our dad's company.
Yeah, it was an employee.
Was he surprised you showed? Oh, you're the band. Oh.
I mean, no, he booked it.
Oh, he booked it. Okay. Sorry.
We played. So at the time too, like, you know, we were in Orange County, so L.A. was an hour and a half away, and that was at one point where all the music was happening and whatever. But at this particular time, this would have been like, you know, early 2000s, I think it would have been late 90s. Yeah. The sort of like Sunset Strip was a like pay to play. So if you're playing, we played at least one show at the Roxy, but you know, you just sell your own tickets. It's not like people are going to the Roxy to see you play, right?
Yeah.
So we had, you know, we had some of those kind of shows.
And then we played around like there was a few coffee hangouts, coffee shops that were like the Hub. We had a regular
Fullerton,
gig at the Hub, and
there were some other spots, but
they had a place called the Hub.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I know, and it's cool. It was a really cool dude that owned it, and
nice.
Like a sweet. It was great. Gave us some really good practice time to do that there. We were just playing for fun, but like, of course, you're like, aren't you going to make a demo and try to make it? You know, like, well, okay. I mean, I try to send it to radio stations. You know, which So I guess we sort of tried that, and Bill is like, just do me a favor. Like, we did this work. Made this record, like, just give it to people. And we're like, totally. I mean, yeah, like, obviously. And we didn't even put our phone number or an email.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to go to, is after a year of making this record, which we still love it. It's great. It's a phenomenal record. But we didn't put, like, there was no contact information on it. We never sent it out to anyone or any, like, radio station or anything like that. You know, we just, like, we just
give it to friends.
Do anything with it? Yeah. But it's fun.
Much different this time around.
Well, kinda. Thanks to Clay, he's helping us profoundly, because we're like, I mean, and I love it, because the first thing he said to us was, "Hey, people should know that you guys are doing stuff, and like, obviously,
when you're doing stuff."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, I do want that. It's just, it's overwhelming I get overwhelmed with how to do things.
Well, I think promoting, you know, the self-promotion, or just, you know, promoting, sure. There's a barrier from like a technological standpoint, and other kind of things that it's just not what we enjoy doing, or that it's easy to do, you know, and so it's always been really awkward to do that. So people like, you know, Clay, just like the show and this record would never have happened, you know, when it did. We wanted to release it in the fall, you know, but like you know, that we actually made that deadline and that it was ready and all that kind of stuff was not going to be possible without his help. So, you know,
and he also helped with or he did the video too, right?
Cats and Trees.
Yes, that one's. And whenever it's funny, because now when I hear that song, I just think of the video.
Me too. So, I like the song so much better. With like my the video. I think of us in the woods, and like it's pretty cool that way.
I always write people and I say, hey, I'm going to have these people on. Can you like send me a story or something? And Clay just said, I finally admitted to them last week at the show that our relationship is based entirely on seeing them for the first time at band camp on my first ever mushroom trip.
I will never forget.
Really?
I will never
Let's hear your side of that story. So you had never met Clay before?
I don't think I had. No. I don't think that was the first time I had met, but it was like the first encounter. It was like his first response to our music. And I remember he said something to the effect of like, what, like, why aren't you, like, he's like, you guys like are like tight. Like you guys are so tight. Like, you know, he said something about like he had gone to like a record release on a label or something, you know, like it was a huge compliment. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, to hear that, that, you know, cause I know he listened to a lot of music and stuff and I was pretty like taken back, you know, by it. Like, wow, thank you so much. You know, we have been working hard, you know, to get to that point, in our live sound or whatever.
He's just your go-to guy.
He's ridiculously
He's
talented.
your go-to guy for everything.
Just incredible. It's absolutely incredible what he can do and how artful he is with everything. Like,
which made it even more amazing the night of his album release, your album release, because he got to be on stage and he got to perform, and he wasn't the guy walking around taking pictures for other people, you know. He was the one up there. And gosh, I'm going to cry thinking about that night. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was such a great show. It was like, I think it was exactly the way he wanted it to be. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the crowd, the music, everything. So it makes me so sad that there's only one of those, but it also makes it really special,
I just don't believe it.
I think we could do a petition.
I refuse to believe that's...
We'll start with it on change.org. Let's do it. We'll get 1,000 signatures.
Hey, you're all still alive. What do you think you're doing?
We'll get him to play at the Roxy. We'll raise money.
Yeah.
It may not be under that name, you know, but yeah, there's no way. That's Clay's last show.
Clay also said, ask them about their 90s alternative rock record when they were known as Valen.
Yeah, that's right. So this is this first
with
record
Bill
that we made with Bill. Yeah, it was under the name Valine.
Oh, Valine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, we should actually share that. If we put a song in this, it should be one from that, because that's funny.
So who was in that band?
It's dated for sure, but it is. I still love it. Like, it's freaking rad.
The production's
it's
wonderful.
a really.
Can you find it anywhere?
Oh, no. In fact,
we still haven't. We're like, my kids are like, Mom, can you put that on like streaming? I'm like, oh God, I guess we could. There's nothing. I guess we could, but of course we haven't.
Yeah, we haven't. We have CDs. We made 1,000 CDs, and I think we have like 623 still.
We should have brought you one. What were you thinking?
Wait, does Steve Chambers have one?
No.
No?
We had him. We actually, maybe it's possible.
He
might.
Because we had him. We had we would always try to grab a few and have them in the suitcase.
It's a buy one, get two free. If you buy a new one, you get an old one.
Also, we'll turn our heads if you want to take more. No, whenever someone puts something out, I always go, has Steve got this yet? And if they say no, I'm like, yes, I beat him. Anything we go to, I'm just like pushing him out of the way.
You, the two of you.
Yeah.
The archivist throwdown.
Okay, so who was in Valine?
Oh, yeah.
You two?
Lead
Just
singer,
you two?
I played electric guitar. And then we had this guy Jerry on bass, who was phenomenal.
Yeah,
he was absolutely phenomenal.
Buddies.
One of our. He was a dear friend, and he's no longer with us. So super sad about that. And then Bill, the drummer.
Oh, okay.
So
He's
it was
still
a 4-piece.
super dear to us.
Yeah.
He's an artist in every sense. And
is he still down south?
He lives in Texas now. I
Austin.
think he's in Austin.
Okay, dude.
He does. Yeah, he does incredible work.
Dude.
Can't even describe what he does. But Horizon Watcher is his tag.
Oh.
So, and he's releasing music
Techno.
on that.
Oh,
and he
cool.
also does video work, and he's a tech genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Burgess.
And so how did you go from Valine to like now the Enthusiast? So like how did you guys form everyone from the Enthusiast?
Well, there was a 15
Who's this Rob guy? Just kidding.
I know.
We had a 15-year gap, you know, like pretty soon after we made that record in Valine.
Yeah.
life happened and things changed.
I got knocked up.
Summer got knocked
like,
up.
I'll say it.
And Rob was in the Navy, he had gotten into medical school, but the Navy was paying for it. So he had to go. And I don't know how I didn't track all that when we were dating and stuff. But anyway, suddenly we're like, moving to San Diego. And then a year after that, we're moving to Connecticut. And a year after that, we're moving to Chicago. And a year after that, we're moving to Guam. So it was like we were off and running. And, but
the total amount of time, though, like before, if we're just talking about like our musical story and journey, like when we were not physically close to each other for about 15 years. It wasn't until I moved to Anacortes that we could even be in a consistent way of playing together and writing again and stuff. So, but it happened like pretty quickly.
Yeah. And so, what year did you move up?
2013.
Oh, just 2013. Okay, yeah. So 11 years ago. And so as soon as you moved up, it was just so natural to pick up your instruments.
Oh yeah, we've been.
Yeah,
I had music waiting, and
yep.
So
and there had been some songs written, in the interim. Like we'd get together, and it wasn't something that we could be doing consistently, but there was some seeds there right away. I mean, just like immediately we started to work together, and and I feel like it was this weird thing with my singing voice. Like it up until that point, I don't, on the record, like there's just a couple songs where I barely was able to pull off background vocals.
Record,
But this time, I don't know, maybe older. My friend Matt Grundy talks about how he describes it like somehow his balls dropped. Finally, his balls dropped. So I'm going to go with that metaphor.
Yeah.
And, maybe something in the water in Anacortes.
There you go.
My balls dropped. And I suddenly was comfortable and could sort of carry a tune, and we could sing together.
Yeah.
Before that wasn't like a thing, and then all of a sudden that was like a thing. That was a feature that we could add to what was happening in the songs. It was totally out of the blue. Like it was amazing, wonderful,
that's great.
Like thing that would just sort of happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that first couple years of like, oh my God, we can do this thing. Yeah. We can arrange and write together and sing together and like, oh my gosh. And then
magic moment. We met Doug.
Yep.
Where'd you meet Doug?
Were you thinking that? Because like that's when we expanded from you and me was Doug.
Yep. Yeah.
How'd you meet Doug?
My first like memory of he was at
we met
shows
Doug,
and stuff.
Doug first got into our lives because of the Moss Tones. So this wouldn't the Moss Tones has a role in this whole story too.
Is he in the Moss Tones?
Yeah.
Okay.
I met Doug because of the Moss Tones.
Is it Tony's in it too?
Yeah.
Tony,
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't met Tony, but I'd love to.
Let me go back. So we were writing these. We had been playing together and writing this material for a couple years, and it was like developing, and it was getting to a point where I wanted it to go like, okay, what are we going to do with this? Like, let's do something with this. Let's start playing out, right? We were just woodshedding the whole time. And Summer was hesitant. She was for very different reasons, a variety of different reasons. But I remember like wanting to do more and to sort of go into the public and play in public and stuff. And she just kind of wasn't really ready. We did a couple shows here and there, but it was so very tentative.
Why didn't you want to?
Oh God, I don't know. I think I'm just still maturing.
You're older than he is.
I think it was
his balls drop. Your balls haven't dropped yet.
You know what? I think they're starting to.
I think it was wisdom, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's, I don't know, it's funny, but there's certainly, you can err on the side of waiting too long, but you can also err on the side of, I think it's more common or something, depends on the person. But I think that was wisdom for her to just like, it's not really like time yet, like it.
And you're just like super eager and like, no, let's go. So was it like both?
We get different things out of the live experience, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I also was longing to rock. Like I wanted to play like loud, and I wanted that sort of energy to experience that kind of thing.
Because were you both playing the guitar, or what were you doing?
Yeah, at that time
just
it was
two guitars.
Acoustic.
Okay,
it was just acoustic.
What was your name?
I don't think we had a name.
No, I think that early on you did say enthusiast. You're like, because even though it was just the two of us, I mean, we were extra enthusiastic when we're two acoustics.
Okay, so that was your name when it was just the duo.
I think it was.
Okay.
I guess so.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right. Anyway.
But, in the 90s, in the late 90s, it was alternative rock. So, like, I had there was maybe 2 years where I got to play electric guitar and, like, learning how to play leads, counter melodies, that kind of thing. And then the thing just stopped, and then it just dropped, right? Like, we played all this music for a few years, and then we're done. And then 15 years of not doing anything. I didn't play music with anyone else.
Oh, wow.
I played acoustic guitar in my living room kind of thing. And then we got back together, started playing music, and we were playing acoustic. It was all folky stuff, which was great. But then, like, there was this other longing to start rocking, And then I met Tony. We formed a band. All that whole thing was just so much fun.
You formed a band with Tony?
Tony Vecchione. That's the Moss Tones.
Oh, you were in the Moss Tones?
Yes.
Or are you?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I don't.
Not now.
I've never seen the Moss Tones, so I just knew that Tony was in it.
Yeah.
And I heard that Tony's a really interesting guy.
Yes.
That's all I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
So you were in a band with Tony.
Yes.
You guys formed the Moss Tones.
That must have been like in 2016 or whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you were doing the acoustic thing with her.
Yes.
You're like, I'll just rock out over here with Tony.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So that was a massive, massive growth thing for me, because I got thrown into this position of being the lead guitar player. Tony was playing acoustic guitar and also electric, but very much rhythm. It was like from the ground. I mean, the very, very lowest possible, standards of just a garage band or whatever. And so we filtered through a couple people, some funny stories, but, we found Doug. How did we find? I think it was through Tony. Tony knew of Doug, and he was like, yeah, there's this guy. He's a really good bass player.
Oh my God,
he's been in the scene here. He had a studio a long time ago, and we can play in. We were like looking for a place to rehearse, because our previous bass player, we played in like he had like a hollowed out like school bus. And it was freezing, we couldn't play like all year round or whatever. So Doug had this house, which is now my house.
Oh,
was the rehearsal. Like, we could play in this huge
Still
space.
The rockin' house.
Yeah.
Still the rockin' house.
So you bought Doug's house?
I bought Doug's house. Yeah.
Nice.
So we got Doug, and then we got a new drummer, and then we rocked for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Summer came on board as a Mossette.
Yeah, we had 3 backup singers, gals. It was super fun.
It was absolutely the most fun I ever had.
Yeah,
the most fun I had ever had. And we were like, we actually started playing. Then we got to play out. We got to play. In the we got to be part of the scene, which I had never really been a part of, in the past. Like, this is
and making musical friends. Like, we made musical friends. Like, people play around. Like, local bands play parties. Local bands play bars.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Oh man, many times. Yeah,
okay.
Many times. But just I remember just like, sort of breaking in, or just having that like feeling of like, oh, we can do this, like we can play a show and people can dance, and this is fun and people want to see it, like that was brand new thing. So again, that lasted we did that for a few years, and it was an absolute blast. And then at some point, I don't know, we realized Summer continuing to write. I feel like I was in 2 bands for like a year's time, or a year or 2 years time. I was in both bands, and the Milestones sort of fizzled out, as projects do. This project, The Enthusiasts, started to ramp up, and we
got Andy Brown.
We got Andy Brown. But we started recording.
That's true.
Before Andy.
Well, I was also just thinking, you had a baby at this point, so you're in 2 bands. You had a baby, right? Because she's what, 15. Now 16,
right? She
Sophia?
was like 4 and 5.
So she was little, yeah.
She was 14.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're in 2 bands, baby.
Yeah.
So at one point, were you like, I'm just gonna, I should probably just play with 1 band, or how did that?
Oh no.
Okay. No, you played with 2 for quite a while.
He doesn't slow down.
No, that the whole thing about the bands was just like, it was just a kind of it was painful because it was so much fun, but you know, like for various different reasons, you know, and the people and stuff, it just was like, okay, this project is gonna maybe slow down, and we switched out band members and stuff like that. But the thing is, with the Enthusiasts, the songs were ready to be recorded, and we had added some additional players. So again, 15, maybe 20 years, some of these songs, we're finally getting the treatment, and we're getting played by players to where we formed the band to record and document the songs.
Kind of like Clay's project, right? Yeah. He wrote one of those 20 years ago.
Note to Clay, you can keep it going even after.
That was the original impetus to form a band.
Yeah.
We were doing our duo thing, which, you know, had its own whatever, but like to make so
give
we
these
formed
songs
the band
life,
to document the songs, just because we thought they were beautiful songs.
Yeah,
we want to document them for whatever, you know.
Rob he picked up the mandolin, and we're like, man, mandolin's beautiful. It fits this stuff, and so we're working out parts for that. And then Mariah,
we had one song that was like just just required. Yeah. It demanded an accordion, and then it was like,
it did. That's right.
Yep.
And
then it was like, we could do the accordion can be part of the, you know, it doesn't have to be polka, like, you know, the, what do you call that?
Pads.
Like, pads, or it can be a rhythm instrument and not be distracting, or, you know, it can fit in really easily. So that's what, you know, formed those two pieces. And then the process of recording, I mean, we did it over and over. We learned more under that microscope in that environment. So we spent years, 3 years, 4 years, that first record.
Well, that was
multiple sessions, you know, for half a dozen, 9 sessions to actually like learn how to play precisely and learn how to play with parts, like that everybody has a part. Not everybody has to be playing at the same time on the same sort of intensity.
So who recorded that album?
Nick Wilbur.
He
really helped pull that out, and he remains that person he's an engineer. He doesn't advertise as a producer, but he's really there to be I guess that's in the mixing too, where he just pulled things like we heard mandolin parts we'd never heard before.
Oh, okay.
Because he found them in the mix, and like we're just all happy and playing loud and having a good time. Like, wait a minute, he's playing something really beautiful in there. Let's make room for it.
Yeah.
And that started happening, and I mean that's really where we're at now. Like what might come, because we're all better players as a result.
So you guys recorded that album, and that was what year did it come out?
Geez,
2019?
19 maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it took forever. It really took.
Well, because Mom got sick during that time too,
yes.
And so we had a lot of time, just downtime. We just dropped it for many, like probably a year before we picked it up again after.
That's true.
After she died, and no, I don't know. I can't remember exactly.
What year did your mom pass away?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, it was February 2018, and then Dad died September 2019.
Okay.
So then that was another just...
Yeah. And you were recording during that time? Or on and off?
Not in 2019.
Okay.
No,
it was always done by then.
Yeah, we must have finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, we finished it before. They heard that record, I think. They both heard that record.
Well, and I want to talk to you guys, I mean, obviously because you're amazing, but also, you know, we had talked about how... You know, grief is something that people, I don't know, I think these days people talk about it more.
Oh, yes.
Like my friend Heidi was on, and her husband passed away, and she was posting about it. Like she was saying, someone wore a plaid shirt, and they said, I just felt like Ted would wear something like this. And so she started this hashtag plaid for Ted, and everyone's wearing plaid, and they're all sending her pictures, and I'm gonna cry. And I love, and there was something else she was doing, but she was just so open about it. She was going through all this stuff, and she's like, look, I found 50 spatulas. Why did he collect 50 spatulas? You know, and she's laughing about it. And I wrote her and I said, you're so open about your grief. And I feel like some people might want to grieve this way, but it's like society sort of tells you like, no, you have to hide away. Like it tells you how you're supposed to grieve. And if you're being open and talking about it, it looks like you don't actually care. And I said, can you just come on and we can talk? And hey, once we're done, I'll throw it away. You can keep the recording. Your daughter can keep it, but or we don't even publish it. Like whatever you want, I could publish it or not. And she came on and we talked and we cried. It was amazing. And then she's like, yep, don't even care about the draft. Just put it out. And I put it out. And I mean, I had like Cody like text me. He's like, I'm in the car in Yakima, like crying over this Heidi episode. And anyway, so when we had talked about, you were saying that this album was about grief. And I was like, oh, whenever your new album comes out, like I want to talk about it. But then when I opened it, because I had so many questions about like your lyrics, I'm a big lyric person. I mean, that's where all my tattoos come from. And, but you just explained everything right here at the very beginning. It's a, collections of songs about, you know, memories and about your loss. And anyway, so I didn't, but then as you were talking, I thought, oh, there's like so many, like I said, so many lyrics I wanted to bring up. And you just mentioned that your mom passed away first and then your dad passed away. So is that what Here We Go Again is about?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And I know like there was a new song that a band wrote and I was like, well, what's that about? Because they, you know, obviously I think a lot of people keep songs vague just because they want people to have their own sort of version of it. Like, oh, well, when I hear that song, I think of this. But then you guys, like, as I was listening to it, I've probably listened to it at least 30 times. I'm not even kidding. Oh. I love it. It's so good. The Raven specifically. Oh, but I love too how when it repeats, I hear Here We Go Again. I'm like, yes, here we go again. It's starting again. So I love that song's first. But like, I mean, the one about She Made You Wear Those Shoes. Yeah. Like, you can't be like, oh, that's a specific story about a specific memory. And I love that. Like, I was listening to Acrasia and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to Andrew about this.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to perform music when you're in a band with 6 other people and you know, you're accompanying someone that's taking the full attention, right? The lead singer. And also it's one thing to be, you know, accompanying and playing a song that you've added a piece to someone's composition. That's one thing that I've gotten used to, right? That was very, very difficult and terrifying in the beginning, but after, you know, hundreds of shows, you get used to it and you develop kind of an appetite for it. But this song, I've only played this song for a few people in my life. You know, that song, I wrote that song like 15 or so years ago. And
oh, wow.
And I haven't played it, you know, in front of anyone and certainly not on stage. The other funny thing is that the first time I played that in public at the album release, you know, at the Unknown, I played it in the wrong key. I forgot to put the capo on.
Oh,
so there was a little bit of added, you know, excitement, you know, to sort of to pull it off, you know, because literally, like, that's not what I'm doing with the Enthusiasts. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I've ever really done with anything publicly. Is to be sort of that naked, you know, and that song is there's very little accompaniment until the end.
Yeah,
so it is very much a vulnerable, you know, kind of naked.
And so just like with like when, you know, Clay was putting out these songs that were 20 years old, I was like, so why are you doing this then? If you didn't do it for so long, so why be naked and vulnerable now?
Well, I don't think I would have done it if it would have been up to me. In this example, right? We're talking about, you know, we're talking about
our whole family.
We're talking about grief and loss and, like, you know, and these really important big emotions that tend to get pushed to the side in our culture, right? Our culture is one of denial. We don't actually, you know, want to deal with death. We don't want to talk about things that are hard or about our weaknesses or the things that we've lost. We can't deal with that. Like, you know, when you think about the overculture or, you know, TV culture or, like, you know, the things that you can talk about at work with your coworkers, right? We have to keep a mask on, and we have to maintain a facade and maintain appearances and stuff. So I think that's one of the roles of art, is to break those things down and show what's actually really going on, and what's, because we can connect that way. We can connect with each other. For me, that's like the thing I live for, is connecting to other humans. So with the encouragement of Summer and family and people insisting that, again, this is 15 years going now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's time to just do this, include the song on our grief record, because the song is full of grief. And so
that song was written 15 years ago.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we were saying, the Here We Go Again was sort of a response to, like, first one parent got sick, then another parent got sick. And I didn't realize Raven, you guys have been playing that for a few years. Clay was like, oh yeah, they've been playing that for like 4 years. And I was like, oh, that's why they have the Raven on the shirt. Like,
Yes.
That one's incredible.
I was on a walk with Doug. He had no idea this was coming to me, but songs come to me in the woods a lot, and just walking. Actually, walking is my thing to do. A song was written in the process of my mom's, like, final decline, and it was, I guess, a kind of metaphor, or just it was about my mom and her journey. But also the sense of, like, everybody's has a hard journey. Like, this was hers, and it was hard, and it really undid her. And in some ways, she didn't die the way she lived. It took so much from her, and but that is this life. That is this life. Like, the Raven that literally flew over, missing wing, like, she's bumming it, man. It's like, you have to get through this winter with missing feathers, like wing feathers. You're going to have to do it, and you will, or you won't. But, like,
so you saw that as you were walking with Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know I was writing a song when we were walking together. I don't know if I really knew it either, but it just, like, noticing.
There's a fragility of life. That's the line that always strikes me so much, was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Life is so fragile, and we are so easily wounded, and like, and that vulnerability, that we're all vulnerable. And certainly, these wild creatures right around us are so vulnerable. So I don't want to sound cliche, but like, the preciousness of life is what I feel with that song, and it makes me just there's a surge of passion that comes out of that, like this temporal world that, like,
Yeah, I mean, the dark is temporary, but the light is temporary. We revel in the light, but only to be met with the dark, and then we are staggered in the dark, only to be met with the light. I mean, it's just, there are these cycles that, and it is super vulnerable, though. Like, I guess I feel like to be able to sink into that a little bit, and I don't know. I feel like in my song, that Belle Fourche song that's very specific. That is totally my mom's story. Is this appropriate to play at ours? I don't even know.
But it's a waltz. It kind of swings.
I know. As long as it swings and people can move to it, I guess. But like, I guess I love about songwriting that it mostly just comes out of my head, heart, and when it's vague or something, it is because I don't know exactly what I'm saying. I don't know quite how to put this life.
Yeah.
But I love when sometimes lines come together that like, we are vulnerable, and I know it's hard, and maybe that's all we can say sometimes is it's hard, and I see that. I get it, Mom. It was hard. I wish it wasn't so hard. I wish things went better.
Well, and I mean, you know, like you were saying, a bunch of these songs were from that process and the grieving in your family. But I was thinking Acrasia, now that I remember your parents passed away, and I was like, oh, well, Acrasia's in response to his parents passing away. And he's like, oh, shouldn't waste the day because you never know. But now you're saying you wrote that quite a long time ago. So I'm just curious, like, what was that in reference to? If that's
well, it's
okay.
interesting that the name only sort of captures an aspect. You know, there's like three parts to that song. The very beginning is, which is really how the song began. You know, and I mean it took a long time to write it too. So you know, I don't count myself as a songwriter. You know, but that song came together sort of eventually. The beginning of that song is about my journey, my wife and I's journey with miscarriages. So, you know, we had many miscarriages.
Wow.
And so that sort of experience was what engendered the just, you know, that's sort of where the first energetic thing came from, was like, fuck, right? Like, this is something I cannot do anything about.
Yeah.
And it's a total failure. Like, we cannot have our own kids. And then, you know, the second half of the song, I know I said three parts, but, the second half of that song, is what acrasia is an old Greek word for weakness of will. It's like the disease of having a weak will, you know? And so that's the chorus comes from, you know, I'm afraid of wasting my days, wasting my time on, you know, drinking or you know, all the ways that we sort of waste, you know, we waste our precious time, and you know, we have our certain ideals. We think, you know, I want to have this kind of life. I want to pursue these kinds of interests that are noble or that are whatever. And what I ended up doing most of the time was sort of wasting my time, you know. I was going through graduate school, and it seemed like there was never enough that I could have given to that project. It was, you know, I was always never well read enough, you know. My papers were never well written enough, right? I was struggling through this intellectual, you know, journey of, it was, you know, now I know later, like, you know, that just wasn't what I was meant to be doing, you know, like I'm not an intellectual, and never, you know, that's just not who I am, you know. So I was struggling through that and trying to find a way to thrive. This concept of like human flourishing was really, really important to me. But I found that I wasn't exactly flourishing in that, you know, in my particular discipline or what I was studying, you know. And so I was just struggling with that. And
I was going to ask about cats and trees.
I would say that, I mean, that line got my attention too.
Wait, did you write it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, it came to you though.
Do you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I wrote down cats and trees? I guess I wrote that
but it was
when
very
I was
close.
sleeping.
I was literally like,
is Rob like, you were saying this in your sleep, so I wrote it down.
I was like, my knee getting into bed, my like literally like covers back, my knees in, and this line, cats and trees are more my speed. I feel I can keep up with them. Came to my mind. I'm
what?
Like, that is such a funny line. That's such a funny line. What is that line? And so out of bed I get. Went downstairs.
That's awesome.
Got a notebook and just started writing. And I mean, I think honestly that line was just to get my attention, because the song is really about, is a song to my daughter Lily, who I just felt especially the need to hold really tightly during my parents dying. That was hard years. And what felt so important about it was that, like, I mean, we're family, but like you're losing your grandma and grandpa, you know, who you live with, and your mom and dad are gone a lot because they work, and I was taking care of mom and dad. Like, we were all like, there's so much to do and all this.
And how old was she?
She was a freshman in high school. Okay. So it was like very like trying to find her own self. And and the song is that, like, I'm holding you. You bet I am. Like, I've got you. No higher and low where I can't find you. But not just I have you. Like, this world has you. And like, we got you. We, this world, like the nature, your favorite places to go in the woods. Like, your stuffies have you. You're like, your friends have you. The car you're driving has you. Like, and the moon has you too. Like you are belonging.
Yeah,
everything about
belonging.
you belongs here, even though it feels really, really hard right now. And some of your main people who are holding you are going away. But they're not all there is. And, so that's really what that song is about.
That song is, I can't wait to listen to it again, with that knowledge.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It cracks me up that first line is like not, it got my attention to write what was coming,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that extent of what you just shared. I don't think I knew that fully in that particular way.
I want to hear about AMP. Like, how did you guys found AMP, or were you part of a few people? Okay, how did that come about?
Mm-hmm.
It was so Doug and Carl and Todd and Summer and I and who else? There
Jules.
was a group of
Jules.
Yeah, Doug's partner at the time was Jules.
That was our team.
And maybe one or two other people. We put on. Jules wanted to put on a Christmas show because she loves Christmas, and she had this great idea about like having. What if we just like throw a big show on that we do holiday themed music, but it can be punk rock, jingle bells or whatever. Like, but specifically like interpreted in these alternative ways. Mm-hmm. And so, that was 9 years ago. The
first Yule Bazaar.
We put the first Yule Bazaar on, and I mean, I was just part of the Moss Tones. Mm-hmm. Jules and Doug and everybody else, like they put on this show and we cobbled together a PA and, it went so well.
Was it at Buxton's?
No, Buxton's didn't even exist. It was probably Kennelly Keys or maybe even before Kennelly Keys.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It was at the depot.
The depot.
The train depot.
Okay.
So we just rented it.
Depot. There was like 350 people that came to that show.
Oh my gosh.
It was absolutely it was amazing.
Yeah.
And everything from start to finish. There were so many people that helped decorating the whole thing, and it just clicked. We just all saw like Carl Blau had been doing a bunch of other stuff through Anacortes Music Channel, like radio program.
Oh, okay.
He had a physical space at one point where classes were being held and other things.
Oh.
There was a monthly calendar that was going on, and so we realized, look, if we put on the show, we made some money at this show. If we put on a number of these shows a year, we could sort of consolidate all of this wonderful stuff that Carl's doing into a nonprofit, and we could fund this entity that could be hosting and it could generate money.
Yeah.
And could pay for all this great stuff. So Carl came up with this like 5-finger, model. And so, so we got together and I'm like, hey, I volunteered to put together the corporate structure, like, filing the paperwork to start a nonprofit and stuff. Because I had just done that for some other organizations. So, so in 2016, 2017,
we were official nonprofit,
we
but
filed
it was
all the stuff and then started putting on shows. That was really that was what it was in the beginning. And then of course, there was Showchime.
Well, Showchime was always there. So it was Showchime and then shows, and with the idea, we're like, ultimately, like we've got a bunch of instruments between us, and we wanted, like, the instrument library was always there too, but it was super informal. Like, who's got a guitar? My kid needs a guitar. I've got one under my bed. And okay, get it. And always, like, we want to get a physical space again so that we can have these classes, so we can have all ages venue was like the big thing, an all ages venue, because like mostly there's bars, you know, or you, and then to pay, like, for kids, to be able to afford to play their music somewhere. How do you do that,
Yeah.
So
up until Buxton's, there's been a massive transition in terms of like the programming and the visibility and like, people being aware of what's going on. And then of course the sort of the younger the younger generation, the educational components, the participation with teens and with young adults. Having a physical space has been absolutely transformative, but it's also totally transformed the finances of it too. Like we had to get really serious about raising money because what was cool is that the way that we originally set it up is that it paid for itself. Really, the main costs, insurance, and all this was covered by the shows. I mean, 400 people. And sporadic donations from people that really were passionate for music. Yeah. But to take on rent, to take on a facility, all that stuff, we had to level up on that stuff. So it's been so exciting. We have a stringed program that Olive, of course, has been a part of.
I love that. I remember putting her in it. I was like, well, you watch this violin girl on YouTube. Let's put you in, So I put her in and I was like, she's going to hate this, but I'm going to make her do the whole week, And so I didn't pick her up the first day. I was busy. So a friend picked her up. And so I dropped her off the second day, didn't really talk to her. And then I picked her up and I was like, okay, let's go. I almost didn't want to ask her how it was going. And, Barb Baker, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, Barb Baker said, are you Olive's mom? And I said, oh no, what'd she do? Not that she would do anything bad, but she goes, she's textbook. The way she holds her violin, this and that. And she's saying all these things I don't know. And I go, oh, and Olive's got this huge smile on her face. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to stick. I thought that was incredible, Yeah. And I had recorded Hannah playing with Nurhachi back when they were a turnkey runner. And I showed her a video and I was like, Olive, look, you don't have to play in a symphony. You could do this. Yeah. And she's like, wow. And so I was telling Barb, her teacher, I said, I posted a picture of Barb and Olive, and Hannah said, Barb's in the symphony with me. And so that whole connection started. And then Barb Hunter from the strings, she started the Skagit U Symphony Ensemble. So now Olive plays at a bank on Tuesdays. And then she started doing private lessons with Sue Ellen, who's also in the symphony. And that all started from the string camp, and I loved it because these ladies, we showed up and they're like, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing. I'm like, no, that's my thing. I love that so much. And then when Barb started her own thing, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, yes. We need more of that.
This is the camp. This is the right place.
Yes. More people that are like, I don't know how to do this, but I know I want to do it.
That's right.
Just like when I started my podcast, I had one mic and my friend Tessa met me in my bedroom and it was so awkward and we didn't know what we were doing. And,
absolutely.
I love that. So yeah, the string camp. And then how long, because I know the string camp's only been going on for the last 2 summers. Has the rock camp been around? The band camp?
We did it. We rented Buxton's the summer before.
Oh, okay.
So we just rented it for that 1 week to do it. And it was just, we filled it and it was a hit. And so we were able to, we're like, we got to get this going,
that
and Buxton's was available.
I think that experience informed the possibility of oh my gosh, this place would be perfect.
Yeah.
We were thinking about a storefront that could be used maybe during the day for people that wanted office space. We were trying to think of all these different ways. How can we pay for this?
Yeah.
And then Buxton's came along, and it would never have happened. Remember, did you ever hear about there was the movie theater project?
No.
The Anacortes movie theater. There was quite a bit of do.
Buxton's is a cultural arts center.
Cultural arts center.
So that's why we're there. We're one of...
That's right.
The
3 organizations.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Share that building.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and it's also available just for public for rental.
Oh, cool.
But we share it with the Anacortes Arts Festival and Fidalgo Dance Works.
No, they're not. Well, yeah, sometimes they're there. Sometimes at also the Act Theater. They do. They do productions there.
Oh, there was a play last weekend.
Yeah. The intention is that Anacortes, it's just there's a lot of support for arts there. Our Arts Festival just is really spearheading that, and without them, and they're really funding. Yeah. They're not funding us, but they are funding that building, and we pay our portion, but we couldn't have that building without all that. So,
well, when I learned about amp and I went there and I saw it, I was like, okay, we need one here.
Yeah.
Like we need amp in Cedar Woolley. And I am so proud of Clay and Wes for starting it. And I mean, it's not the same as amp, but because they're just starting out and it's really just the two of them with help from other people, but they're the ones that started it. And they've had two shows so far. And yeah, so you guys were like a huge inspiration for that. So I hope, it flourishes and let's have another one somewhere else. Yep. And there's just so much. I just feel like there's so much potential up here,
so
and like
much, nothing but potential.
I think people just eventually show up if you just keep going.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, that build it and they'll come is a thing. I mean, and also we were building it for 7 years. So when we had the building, it was like, oh, now this is what you guys are. We're like, I guess we are. Like we saw the skin grow into our, empty shells.
Yeah.
The ghost became real.
Yeah, and who knows what amp's going to be like in 10 years, right? So the Yule Bazaar. So I'll probably put this out next week. So that is on the 21st. Yeah.
Yes.
A Saturday, which is the same night as Hannah Wyatt's.
I know.
Hannah Wyatt's album release party at her house. I ordered my Victorian clothes off Amazon, of course, which is where you get Victorian clothes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So Nurhachi's playing, and who else is playing? Are you guys playing? No.
Yeah.
Yep,
You are? Okay.
Yep. Enthusiasts are playing.
It's a great lineup.
Look it up.
We've got a girl
really good
teen band.
Ooh, who's that?
Came from Amp Camp.
Oh,
they're called
really?
Seraphix, and they're playing. Yeah, they're awesome. It's all four girls.
They're from Amp Camp. Oh, that makes it even better.
So they
there's
collaborated
several
and
young.
put
There's
together.
several quote unquote young people's bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cascade Cody's going to be there. He's not young, but he's cool. Honestly, no.
Okay, who's
Camp
that?
Quitter.
Who's honestly no?
They're local dudes in their 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're a newish band in town.
Camp Quitter.
Camp Quitter. Who's that?
Yep.
That is Evan's band. So he's one of our board members. He grew up in Anacortes. He was gone for a long time, like living in other places in the world. And he runs the audio visual department at Anacortes High School.
Oh,
And
okay.
just a really cool
Our
dude.
newest board member. Such a cool dude.
Yeah? Oh,
such
nice.
a cool dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's his
Awesome.
project.
Yeah.
And then Ebslack and Flood. And Harper and Company.
And who's that?
Yeah, James
Oh my
Harper.
gosh, James
So,
Harper.
and Channing.
And
Do you know
Channing
Channing
Wage.
Wage?
Oh, yeah,
So
Channing.
she
yeah.
plays with a lot of different folks.
Okay.
And James is one of the people she's played with over the years. So they are a beautiful duet. It'll be exquisite set.
So people can see you at the Edison. This won't come out, but then they can see you at the Yule Bazaar.
Yeah.
And
And many
then-
more. It'll be
yes, and many more.
It's worth your while.
Doug's going to be gone from January and February. He goes to Mexico, so we won't be doing anything during that time. But we're
Yeah.
going to be ready. We want to start recording a new EP.
Ooh.
We got some fun songs.
We have
Nice.
a bunch of ripping songs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
kinda
nice.
punk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
And so I guess if people want to know where you're playing next, you guys are posting on Facebook and Instagram.
yep.
That's what
Clay
you do.
would be. Clay
Yeah,
would be.
Clay.
Oh,
will
Clay
let-
posts your stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know.
Okay.
He's our magical voice that makes it all.
And people can listen to your album on Spotify, or if they go to a show, they can purchase an album.
Also, Bandcamp.
yeah,
I was going to say
All the
Bandcamp. Can
streaming,
they buy it
Bandcamp,
there?
yeah, yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have our old one on that, and
Oh.
we should be posting the Valine one on Bandcamp too, just to
Yeah.
have or
Yeah.
wherever we can make it go.
I was gonna say you should send me one of your songs and I'll put it at the end of
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We'll do that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming over.
This is so cool.
All right, thanks guys.
Wow. I'm all sweaty.
I'm glad. I was so scared it was gonna be so freezing in here.
Here we go
We've been through what we don't know how to do. And here we go again. I see your eyes lose focus, your body shrink away, and hold your hand that looks like mine. I feel the cold coming in, and here we go again. And we don't know again. We've been through what we don't know how to do. And here we go again. We recorded your voice today, and you lost track, repeated your words. But I remember, I'm not losing track. I remember everything. Here we go again. We don't know again. And we've been through what we